Have you noticed how much of what you carry never turns into words? Have you felt the ease of handling responsibility paired with the difficulty of explaining how it actually feels? Do you ever sense that speaking about certain thoughts would change how you're seen, even if nothing else changes? Have you observed how silence can feel safer than explanation, especially when there's no clear outcome? Do you recognize moments where holding things inside feels simpler than trying to make them understood? And have you wondered why some weight feels easier to bear alone than to share? Men don't carry more because they feel more. They carry more because expression often demands translation. It asks for clarity, vulnerability, and the risk of being misunderstood. So weight becomes internalized, managed quietly, and turned into endurance rather than explanation. Many men move through their days with a steady outward face and a crowded inner world. From the outside, things may look fine. Work gets done. Responsibilities are handled. There is motion, competence, continuity. Inside, there is often more weight than words. Thoughts that circle without resolution, pressure that never quite releases, questions that are postponed rather than answered. This is not always distress. Often it is simply accumulation. Men tend to hold experience rather than translate it, not because they are incapable of expression, but because expression feels imprecise. What is carried feels layered, unfinished, and difficult to reduce into sentences, so it stays inside, not hidden in shame, not locked away dramatically, just held. Over time, carrying becomes familiar, so familiar that it is mistaken for strength itself, and slowly a man may forget how much he is holding because he has never put it down. Men carry more than they express because their inner world often operates differently from their outer obligations. There is a constant orientation toward function, toward usefulness, toward direction. Much of a man's attention is pulled forward, toward what must be built, toward what must be maintained, toward what depends on him continuing to move. This forward pull leaves little space for translation. Inner experiences are registered as signals rather than stories. Tension becomes background noise. Uncertainty becomes pressure. Desire becomes restlessness. Expression, when it happens, requires slowing down. It requires naming something that may still be forming. For many men, that feels inefficient or incomplete, so instead they carry. There is also an unspoken belief that clarity must come before speech, that if something is said, it should be resolved, clean, structured, useful, but inner experience rarely arrives that way. It arrives fragmented, half-formed, contradictory. Rather than risk saying something that does not yet make sense, many men choose silence, not because silence feels good, but because it feels safer than misrepresentation. Over time, this creates a quiet discipline, a habit of containment. Containment can look like calm, it can look like control, it can look like maturity, and sometimes it is. But containment without release slowly becomes compression. The mind tightens, attention narrows, energy becomes dense rather than directed. This is where many men begin to feel tired without knowing why, focused but heavy, capable but inwardly strained. The weight is not always emotional in a dramatic sense. Often it is cognitive, unprocessed decisions, deferred desires, unspoken limits. A man may not feel bad, he may simply feel full. Expression is not absent because something is wrong. It is absent because carrying has become the default method of order, and order for many men feels like survival. Over time, what a man carries shapes how he sees himself. Identity forms not only from actions taken, but from weight endured quietly. Many men recognize themselves by what they can absorb without disruption, by how much pressure they can hold while continuing to function, by how little they need to say to remain effective. This creates a particular kind of self-respect, one rooted in steadiness, in reliability, in restraint. But it also creates distance from internal signals. The body tightens without being noticed. Attention becomes rigid, desire dulls, not because it is gone, but because it is crowded out. Self-mastery is often misunderstood as domination over impulse, but for many men, the deeper challenge is discernment, knowing which weight sharpens focus and which weight slowly erodes it. Some things carried bring coherence, they align effort, they simplify decision-making. Other things carried create noise, they accumulate without serving direction. They occupy space without offering clarity. When expression is absent, reflection becomes essential. Not to confess, not to unload, but to notice. To notice what is being carried out of habit rather than necessity. To notice where silence protects clarity and where it merely postpones understanding. This is not about speaking more. It is about knowing more accurately what is inside. A man does not need to express everything he carries, but he does need to recognize it. Otherwise, identity hardens around endurance alone, and endurance without awareness eventually limits range. Men carry more than they express because carrying feels like control. It feels efficient, it feels strong, and in many moments it is. But carrying is not the same as integration. What is held without recognition does not disappear. It simply becomes structure. Over time, that structure shapes attention, posture, and perception, not loudly, quietly. There is a calm strength in knowing what you carry, not to release it all, not to explain it away, but to hold it consciously. Expression is not always the answer, neither is silence. Clarity often lives between the two, in the quiet awareness of weight, purpose, and direction. When a man knows what he is carrying, he moves differently, not lighter, but cleaner, and that difference is subtle, but it is unmistakable.